Hi there, you made it. Sol here. Welcome back everybody. Ubisoft interns don't play Highlander, but that's okay, because I do. Wanna know how I know that though? Because they didn't give him a heavy attack when he gets a guard break. Instead, they gave him a dodge attack because they want you to target swap spam dodge attack and still be a hero with no real offense. Isn't that great? Aren't you guys excited to see every hero with a dodge attack? It's like we don't have enough of that as it is. Here's my reaction when I found out they just slapped on a poorly made dodge attack and called it a day. Whether you are on an old-gen console and hate his 2-hit chain light spam with terrible animations, or you are on a superior hardware where it's no issue at all, there's just something about Highlander that makes me feel like a badass when playing him. Seriously though, how cool would it be to get Berserk's greatsword here though? Since we're adding some of the most ridiculous executions and weapons, such as the fully semi-automatic flintlock pistol, I mean, we might as well add an even bigger sword for Highlander. Unless there's another freaky or hilarious weapon we should be adding, or Smaug's hammer perhaps? Maybe that's a good idea. I'm sure many of you know who Farum is, a valuable asset to For Honor and a consistent uploader who likes to play this game 24 hours a day. And most importantly, my friend, who left me on red 2 years ago on Discord. Honest to God though, I don't know how you can play this game this much, especially with all the button mashy revenge feeding teammates we get. Props to him, seriously. But if you've been in any other YouTube comment section, you always see the viewers ask the YouTuber to play a specific hero or game, and Farum has religiously not played Highlander. The short answer is because he's too hard to get value out of consistently. Now you can use a bunch of hours of your life into learning this character, and it just might be worth it to get some cool plays like this. But he's just too vulnerable as a hero that requires an insurmountable of reads to perform well. Heroes that have dodge attack recoveries or easy access to unblockables just have a better time in teamfights and win games more consistently than Highlander. And as always, I'm not saying you can't do well with him. He does have a unique kit that can, give him the edge on a lot of fights, but most of the time it's just cock and ball torture. But the box is not going to lie. He's got some really neat and interesting tricks up his sleeve that probably make him one of the most interesting characters we have, and still one of the relics that have a unique quality to them. It's kind of disgusting what this guy can pull off. If they are behind a wall and you do a kick, they will wall splat, and that gives you enough time to land your caber toss, which will deal a ton of stamina. As we all know, level 3 bots are probably better than the best players in this entire game, but the easiest way to deal with them and the most secure way is to use kick to caber on the bots because they usually just back dodge and always get hit by the caber. So if you want to finish one off really quickly, this is the way. And time to make the For Honor universe a worse place than what it already is. Now this one's a little bit crazy. You can infinite caber toss somebody and pretty much 100 to 0 them completely. Note that the caber toss timing is very forgiving and that Shinobi is not able to dodge out of it. This one is very situational and more of a meme, but you can do multiple kicks to drain the opponent's stamina until both of you guys are left with nothing. This one is probably the biggest waste of you and your opponent's time, next to playing For Honor of course. And what else can Highlander do? What a good looking question. Let me tell you, Jimmy.
What?
Those are pretty much the only ones that I know. If there's any other ones that I miss, be sure to speak up and let me know in the comments because there's always some crazy shit that Highlander can do. It's an unfair match in all regards, but the neat thing is that the heavy unblockable, it can soften into a kick. So if they decide to go for a parry, you will be able to get the kick in and go for another heavy attack. But here's another useless but fun trick. You can go for the caber too after the kick. So if you want to consume half your stamina, go ahead and do that because it's quite an interesting mix-up. The next option is to use your offensive lights, which are basically unreactable. 400 MS slaps that you can keep smacking on your opponent's face. I mean, where can you go wrong? Unfortunately, there's so many heroes that accidentally deflect you. But when those happy dodge attack pirates decide to do that, you can cancel out of offensive stance and get a guard break if you manage to catch them in their startup. Now, if we go into the testing grounds, we'll see Highlander's new dodge attack. How good is it? Well, the most notable thing is that it's only 15 damage now, which is good since it's a dodge attack, I agree. But it seems like his Celtic Curse also got affected and nerfed to the same damage values. It's most likely a bug, but still unforgivable. And if it's not that, well then, I'm not surprised. He also barely has any iframes within this move, and that could be a good thing and a bad thing, but it's mostly a bad thing, so that will definitely have to be adjusted. This acts just like Celtic Curse, where you go into your offensive stance after hitting it, and then we get to use his offense. I can confidently say that for the majority of players who actually do play Highlander, would like to have a confirmed heavy on GB instead of a dodge attack. I promise you that. Now granted, I guess a dodge attack or a full block is necessary right now in this meta since every hero is getting undodgeables, unblockables, dodge attacks, and dodge cancels left and right. But me personally, I would have liked a dodge bash, possibly with his emote as a headbutt or something. In my opinion, that'd be pretty cool. I mean, with his other executions, there are animations that could be used. Alright, just look at this one right here. This one is a perfect for a dodge bash of some sort. Reminds me of Centurion punches, so Centurion can also have this as well, but that would be a really sick dodge bash, right? That'd be pretty sick. A forward uppercut or dodge uppercut, that'd be awesome. And check out this one. This one has a backhand, so he could like do his Celtic Curse, and instead of swinging his sword, he could use his fist instead. I think that'd be really awesome. Just check that out. Like a dodge and hit him with a bash. That'd be way better than a dodge attack in my opinion. I mean, check that out. Like using half swords for a claymore, it doesn't really make any that much sense. But for like a long sword, yes. But this would still be a really cool move to have. I'm not. Like, look at the ferocity of these moves. I feel like the heroes we've gotten today do not have this much weight to their weapons. I feel like we've been getting a lot more toxic executions lately, and I feel like Ubisoft doesn't play their games, so having this execution happen to you every single game, it's definitely tilting. Like, when it happens to me, I'm just like, wow, another 15-second execution, and this guy literally curb stomps me and kicks me while I'm down. So dishonorable. And then he spits on me afterwards. It's like, sheesh, touch some grass or something. But after all that is said and done, my experience with Highlander is that there's no other hero that rewards you for actually being good at the game and for reading your opponent correctly. Sure, his light parry punishes is one of the highest in the game, with the unblockable being 30 damage and the follow-up light being 9 and 400 MS. It basically nets you 39 damage in such a quick amount of time, but unfortunately, you gotta get those light parries. With the amount of unblockables and strong chain offense heroes are getting, I'm kinda stuck just reading my opponents all day long. It's a fact. I'll be losing quite a few of my games, but also, I will be absolutely decimating my opponents and making them rethink their entire life because they didn't realize how good Highlander can be in capable hands. Once you underestimate a hero, you basically lose the game. The baits you can perform with them, wave dashing enemy attacks, kicking someone with a giant foot of his even though he's a midget, it all condenses perfectly into one singular hero. So as always, let's recap what should happen to Highlander. Keeping things simple with him is difficult since he's a technical hero with a lot of aspects about him that make him a hero with a high skill curve, but I still suggest a few things and I want to change him a little bit. First thing I like to fix is his kick to caber. This is his main mix-up. This is a bit tricky because it's a very slow move that nets you very high damage values. The most simplest thing that I can suggest that doesn't really complicate things too much for the interns is that we simply allow him to feint his kick and caber. They've already done this with Conqueror's Chain Bash and it works well as an opener. Giving him the ability to feint his kick and caber will allow him to bait out dodge attacks or go for GBs if they decide to empty dodge. And if they decide to dodge roll, we simply give his top Celtic Curse more tracking or make it undodgeable to catch people. It's very simple in my opinion. I don't think this would change his playstyle that much at all. One important thing I'd also like to note is that I think I would like to lower his unblockable heavy damage after a kick to maybe like 25 or 24 back to standard, or maybe just 27, because It's very punishing to get hit with the kick and caber to be able to feint those, so I feel like having a strong offense like that, you should lower the damage slightly. Of course, there is the argument that he is in offensive stance and he has no guard. However, with the amount of damage he can perform, the amount of feints he can perform with his offensive pressure, I think this is reasonable. Some people say that his offensive stance lights needs to have less stamina consumption, and since Raider barely consumes any stamina himself, I would agree in that sense. However, Highlander's offensive stance lights are 400 ms, which are unreactable from neutral. There are two downsides, and those are stamina consumption and having no guard while using them. But in my opinion, being the only hero having a 400 ms light from neutral really quickly, it should cost more stamina and be more risky to use because he has wave dashing to avoid attacks if you're good enough, but you'll need to dodge on red, of course. But of course, Raider also doesn't really consume that much stamina when he uses Storming Tap, and that's also pretty much unreactable, and we have a situation where we give people tons of stamina to just keep spamming attacks. This is something that we'll have to discuss down in the comments below, but it's a high skill curve thing for sure, and I think we should still keep it in the game, otherwise we'll get Highlander spamming offensive lights 20 times before he runs out of stamina. If you haven't fought a Highlander before, or a good one, the offensive lights are very hard to fight, I kid you not. When he's in there, you gotta just get out of there as fast as you can. His lights are fine as is, but I'd like to remove the hyper armor on his chain neutral lights, as there's no reason for him to have it. I'd also like them to fix the animation for it, because for some reason, it just looks so bad. One neat thing that I like the interns to add is to allow him to soft feint his unblockable heavy into an offensive light from another side. This would really help him out in offensive pressure, since the unblockable is a decent mix-up, but I think he needs a little bit more tools than just the kick to caber. Soft feints in general, I do enjoy them, especially soft feints into a light attack or another heavy attack, and I think this would be a good addition to him because being able to feint the kick and caber might already be enough, but giving him a little bit of edge like this would be okay, but that's just a maybe. The third thing obviously is to give him heavy attack on guard break, and of course allow him to enter offensive stance right afterwards. It'll be 24 damage, standard procedure just like everyone else, but his neutral ones I think should still do 30 damage as they are very slow. The next thing I'd change is probably his stamina damage, since while they are trying to phase out stamina drain in general, it's pointless for him to have it with such high values, especially with the things I showed you before in the beginning of the video. It's a nerf, but it's standard procedure with how the interns are running the show right now, especially with how the meta is. And then the last thing is just to increase his run speed. It's just a chore running from point to point with him. He's as slow as Kensei, and I feel like these heroes with the biggest thighs should be running a little bit faster. Shigoki runs faster. Come on, guys, let's get real here, all right? Let's get serious for a second. Let's just get serious. And of course, we can't not talk about Highlander's fashion. I think Highlander probably has one of the best fashions out of the Viking faction, besides Shaman and then maybe one set of Valkyrie, but holy crap, does Highlander look good with all of his capes. His capes pretty much set him apart from all the Vikings. And let's not forget about his beautiful claymore. My gosh, this claymore, any of his variations within his sword is just top tier. I'd say he has the best swords in the entire game, the best weapons in the entire game. Fight me all you want, but you cannot deny that his greatsword absolutely stomps the competition when it comes to fashion and style. You know what they say, the bigger, the better. As you can see here, I don't go too crazy with colors, as I like to keep it very simple and clean. The artists at Ubisoft really do make things look amazing, especially when they're designing new stuff or new variations. Even the variations are beautiful, and I can't deny that they always look good. But I also can't deny that this ornament is my favorite. I think everyone uses this because frankly, it kind of reminds me of The Witcher, because the monster, it's like the Leshy, I believe, and has the horns, and it's from the woods, and it's a really cool designed looking monster in the Witcher series, and I absolutely adore that design. Even though it's like a deer, it still looks amazing. I love horny things, you know? The more horns you have on the outfit, the stronger you are. At least that's how it works with Orochi's armor. I don't use any ornaments with this helmet specifically because it already looks so dang good, man. Look at my ginger friend right here. But of course, the Chimera set and the Horko set, those are always one of my favorites, and I feel like Highlander has more fur on his torso pieces. I mean, just look at Berserker here. He barely has anything. He has like some crow mask and stuff, but not much fur. And this helmet right here, this is an ornament. So if I take that off, he doesn't have anything going for him. I would say Zerker's fashion is, this might be a hot take, but it's kind of mid if I do say so myself. And he barely has any fur on him. I think the only fur is really one of his Chimera sets and his default sets. He doesn't have that much cool fur or any capes on him that set him apart from any other hero besides, you know, this little gore that's always on him and these very square torso pieces. So there it is, you made it to the end of the video. I've been playing Highlander for a while now, and I believe this would help his kit tremendously, solving his ineffective offense. Of course, when you're out of stamina, he is scary, and Highlander's kick to caber is immensely good, but it doesn't mean he doesn't need some adjustments, especially for mid-game fights. Highlander is one of those heroes that Ubisoft should be looking towards to when creating a new hero, something innovative, and I hope that the Egyptian Magi will have 2 stances or 3 stances, even more, like Highlander. At least that's what I assume, since Stefan kinda hinted at that. Anyways, I'm tired now. It's been fun playing with Highlander. How has your experience been while playing Highlander in these past metas? And how has my fellow Rep 70s feel about using him throughout his entire game's life cycle? I know it's been quite a journey, and I know I've enjoyed him even though it's been a painful ride. Thanks for hanging out here with me today, everybody. I'm going to bed now. Bye bye. See you later.